Thanks for looking after my daughter for a year. My sister-in-law came to our house without hesitation upon returning from her trip abroad. She attempted to take my daughter, who was about to turn 1, thanking me for looking after her daughter for a year. In a panic, I stopped her, explaining that the child was indeed my own. However, she seemed to not fully grasp the situation, but I left her in the yard. I had no idea about her shocking words that sent shivers down my spine. I am Sarah, a compassionate and responsible individual. I find myself entangled in a complex situation with my sister-in-law, Rachel. Once she realized that my surprise was genuine, her face began to pale. This was the beginning of a huge commotion sparked by my sister-in-law. It all started about a year and a half ago when Rachel, my 25-year-old sister-in-law, suddenly returned to her parents' home with a baby. My husband has suddenly been transferred abroad, but I'm worried about raising our small child in a foreign country. It's all so unfamiliar. I see I'm pregnant too. I hope our children can be friends. If it's Sarah's child, they're bound to be adorable, she said. It felt strange to think I'd be friends with my sister-in-law. Rachel was outgoing and easily spoke to me without hesitation, even though I was 2 years older. This made me feel like we could get along well. Even after I gave birth, I lived in a detached house with my 30-year-old husband, while Rachel would live with her parents. It's nice that Rachel's house is close by. We can meet up anytime, I thought. We would get along well with her and my parents-in-law. However, I soon realized that this was naive. After moving back in with her parents, Rachel gradually began to show her true colors. "Sorry, Sarah, I have an urgent matter and can't take care of my child. Can you look after her?" Rachel asked. "Sure, but what happened?" I inquired. "My dad threw out his back. I need to buy some patches for him," she replied. Feeling sorry for her, I gladly took care of her baby. However, this became a regular occurrence, with Rachel constantly finding reasons to leave her child with me. But that wasn't the only problem. "Sorry, I need you to look after my child again today, Sarah," Rachel said. "You're lying to me, aren't you?" I accused. "What? Why would you say that?" Rachel's exaggerated reaction made me sigh. "Do you think I don't know anything? Your father has never had a bad back in his life," I pointed out. "Did I say that? I don't remember," she stammered. She couldn't even remember her lies. "But that's not all. A neighbor said she saw you out and about in town." "Huh? Who ratted me out?" Rachel retorted. "No, I mean it must have been someone who looked like me. Who do you believe, that old lady or your sister-in-law?" Despite her tight attempt to appeal to me, I was not swayed by her poor acting. "Just take care of your child. I won't be helping you anymore," I declared. "What? Why? That's so mean of you." Rachel threw a tantrum like a child, but suddenly stopped as if she had an idea. "Fine, I'll make you want to care for my child on your own," she said cryptically. Without answering my question, she smirked, picked up the baby, and left our house, leaving me feeling uneasy. I consulted with my husband and in-laws to warn them about my sister-in-law, Rachel, but it was like talking to a wall. She continued to show no signs of remorse or understanding. Moreover, she concocted a plan. One afternoon, while I was dozing on the couch with my pregnant belly, I heard a baby crying. Is it from a neighbor's house? But it sounds too close, I thought. My phone rang, interrupting my thoughts. "Hello, this is Sarah." "Oh, hey, Sarah, please take care of my child." Rachel's voice sounded on the line. "What? Didn't I tell you last time that I won't be taking care of your child anymore?" I asked. Rachel laughed as if my response was amusing. "It's too late. I already left my child at your doorstep a while ago," she revealed. Rushing to the door, I found a baby crying on my doorstep. "Rachel, what are you thinking?" I demanded. "Well, you were being mean, so I had no choice." Her tone was gleeful, as if she had pulled off a prank. "I told you, didn't I? I'd make you want to take care of my child. You wouldn't leave a baby on the doorstep, right?" Rachel's voice echoed with a hint of amusement. "Stop joking! Where are you now?" I demanded, feeling a surge of frustration. "Guess, though I suppose it's hard for you to go out since you're pregnant," Rachel laughed, abruptly hanging up the call. My attempts to call her back were met with a turned-off phone. Despite my protests, when she finally returned in the evening, my words fell on deaf ears. This scenario repeated several times until I reluctantly began to check the doorstep and take the baby whenever Rachel called. Rachel unapologetically claimed she was doing me a favor by giving me practice for my upcoming childbirth, expecting gratitude in return. "I'm not asking for thanks, but isn't there something to be said about attitude?" I retorted, growing increasingly irritated and stressed by her behavior. This continued for 6 months until an incident occurred a year ago. "Going abroad for a bit." That note was all Rachel left before disappearing suddenly. No one knew where she went, but it wasn't shocking given her history of impromptu trips funded by her part-time job earnings. My husband casually mentioned, "It's nothing new. She probably went to see her husband since he was transferred overseas." We assumed she took her baby to meet its father. Our family, caught up in our turmoil, hardly spoke of Rachel. Shortly before her disappearance, I went into labor 2 weeks early and was rushed to the hospital, unprepared for the sudden birth of our beloved daughter. In the chaos of unexpected delivery and adjusting to new parenthood, conversations about Rachel faded. Before we knew it, a year had passed since her departure. As my daughter's first birthday approached, Rachel's return disrupted our peaceful life again. "I'm back," her familiar voice echoed from the unlocked front door. "What, Rachel? You're back from overseas?" I questioned, bewildered. Ignoring my words, she walked straight to my daughter. "Thanks for taking care of my daughter for a year," she said, attempting to take my child away abruptly. "Hey, what are you doing to my child?" I intervened, quickly taking her back. Rachel frowned in confusion. "Come on, just because you've had her for a year doesn't mean you get to act all motherly. This child is genuinely my daughter." Both of us were confused for a while. "Rachel, didn't you take your child with you overseas?" I asked, trying to make sense of the situation. "What are you talking about? I left her in your yard," Rachel replied. Our conversation was missing each other, but something terrible might be happening. "You said you left a child for a year when you went abroad. You left her in my yard?" I clarified, a sinking feeling creeping into my gut. "That's what I've been saying. At that time, I had just given birth to this child and was hospitalized due to poor health, so I don't know where your child is now," Rachel revealed, shock evident in her voice. "This is serious. We need to call the police," I declared, reaching for my phone. But as I reached for my phone, Rachel grabbed my arm with trembling hands. "Wait, please don't call the police." "But how can we not?" I questioned, bewildered. "Please, I'll be in huge trouble if you do," Rachel pleaded, her voice trembling with fear. Sensing the gravity of the situation, I decided to inform our family instead. I called our in-laws and my husband to explain the situation. However, when I turned around after ending the call, Rachel was nowhere to be seen. "I can't believe she ran away the moment I looked away. How irresponsible can she be?" I exclaimed, frustration boiling over. After receiving my call, my husband and in-laws gathered at our house. According to my husband, there indeed had been a baby in the yard while I was giving birth and hospitalized. He had had little involvement with Rachel's child and, assuming she had taken the baby abroad, had contacted the police to take care of the unknown infant. With all the focus on our newborn, the memory of that incident had completely slipped our minds. Rachel's child would have been about 1.5 years old by the time she returned. Rachel likely mistook my child for her own due to their close ages. After consulting with the police about the situation, we discovered the baby was at an orphanage, which was a relief. I decided to leave Rachel's child's care to my husband and in-laws. What concerned me more was Rachel's panic, which seemed unusual. That level of panic from Rachel was not normal. There must be something more to this. My intuition proved correct when I decided to take a certain action. "It seems we need to teach her a lesson," I murmured to myself, a determined glint in my eyes. I had a trump card against Rachel, which I hadn't been sure I'd ever use, but there was no need to hesitate now. It was time to teach her a lesson. A week later, with everything prepared, I called Rachel. After several rings, she hesitantly answered. "Rachel, your child has been found. You can relax now. Come back home," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Believing my words, Rachel casually arrived at our house and rang the doorbell. "Phew, I was so worried. Glad she's been found," she said, laughing carelessly as she entered our living room. But she was greeted by an unexpected sight. "What? Michael and Smith, why are you guys here?" Rachel exclaimed, her voice tinged with panic. Sitting on the sofa was Rachel's husband, or rather, her ex-husband, Michael, and sitting on the floor was her affair partner, Smith. Michael frowned deeply at his ex-wife, glaring at her, while Smith looked on with a pitiable face as if he was about to cry. "This is bad," Rachel muttered, turning to make her escape from our house. But my father-in-law, a large man, was standing guard at the entrance, blocking her way out. Consequently, Rachel ended up sitting on the floor alongside her affair partner, Smith, receiving a lecture from my husband, her ex-husband, and our in-laws. "Come on, it's fine now, isn't it? The child is safe, right?" Rachel puffed out her cheeks in defiance. Michael, with a chilly look, said, "If you can't even take care of the child, then you should return the custody and the child support payments." When I contacted Michael, he revealed that everything Rachel had told us was utterly false. He had not been transferred overseas, and they had divorced due to her infidelity. However, during the divorce, Rachel had forcefully taken custody of their child and had been receiving substantial child support payments from Michael. Even when the infidelity comes from the custodial parent, they are still entitled to child support. This is why Rachel desperately tried to prevent me from calling the police, fearing the consequences if it was discovered she wasn't taking care of their child, Michael explained. I was utterly dismayed by her selfishness. "Sarah, you have to help me. I can't pay back the child support," Rachel pleaded desperately. "But you made me take care of the baby, didn't you? There's no escaping that. Don't make stuff up. Where's your proof?" I retorted, feeling a mix of anger and disbelief at her audacity. I calmly showed her the footage from my phone. It showed Rachel leaving the baby at our doorstep and walking away. "What? When did you take this?" Rachel's voice trembled with disbelief. "Since you started leaving your child on my doorstep, I installed a security camera for safety. It would be terrible if something happened to the baby," I explained calmly. This was my trump card. I had recorded this footage in anticipation of a moment when it might be useful, though I never thought I'd use it. "This footage proves you haven't been fulfilling your parental duties. Wouldn't the child be happier being raised by Michael?" I questioned, my tone firm. Rachel bit her lip and growled lowly. Suddenly, she clung to Smith, sitting next to her, bursting into tears. "What? Help me, Smith! Everyone's bullying me!" she sobbed. However, Smith, who seemed to have only considered Rachel a casual fling, gently pushed her away. "Well, I have another family. You're betraying me too. Who do you think paid for our round-the-world cruise?" he revealed. "So, the child support went on a splurge around the world, huh?" I remarked, a mix of disappointment and anger in my voice. Rachel covered her mouth in shock, but the words she had let slip could not be taken back. "So, when you said you were going abroad for a year, you were actually on a world cruise with your lover, using up the child support, and now you can't pay Michael back?" I pressed, incredulous. "Yeah, so what? Is that so bad?" Rachel defiantly gave up, her facade crumbling. I didn't hold back my criticism. "Then I'll have to call the police." "Wait, please, I'm sorry, just forgive me." Rachel finally showed remorse, sobbing and repeatedly prostrating herself on the floor. However, I couldn't afford to be lenient. "Just so you know, I won't forget how you've treated your child and me. You better reflect on your actions." After my firm statement, Rachel was taken away by the police. She was arrested, and her daughter was returned to Michael, who regained custody. Rachel was now required to pay a monthly child support of $500 until the child came of age. Cut off by my husband and in-laws, Rachel faces a thorny path. Even if she gets out of jail, Smith too wasn't spared. His wife filed for divorce and demanded compensation. As for me, I'm living a harmonious life with my husband and our daughter. Every day is a joy and a discovery as we watch our daughter grow. This was all about the story. Thanks for watching. And please make sure to let me know how was this. Also, like the video and subscribe for more awesome stories. See you in the next story.